In this video, you're going to be looking at how Vygotsky would describe your case study's cognitive development as opposed to how Piaget described the development. And he's almost equally as famous as Piaget. They're both constructivists, but how they pictured your case study developing their own learning through the interaction of the learning is completely different. So he believed in something called zone of proximal development and scaffolding as a way to describe how your case study learns. But we want to look and see if you believe that's how you think people develop their thinking. So you're going to describe your case study's cognitive development just like you did in Piaget, but according to Vygotsky, and defend a teaching strategy appropriate for that development. So if we scroll down, just like in all the other ones, in step 1, you're going to be looking at some resources to help you do that. And there are some basic principles underlying the Vygotskian framework. Just like Piaget, children do construct their knowledge. That development can't be separated from its social context. And what that means is saying that I can't learn something unless I have somebody to help me learn it. Versus Piaget, who believed that when you construct your own knowledge, you need to be figuring out on your own so that true learning occurs. That means you can work with another peer, but that peer has to be of same development. And this is important because when it says learning can lead development, it means that when I experience an unknown object, Vygotsky would say, I have to have language for that object for me to understand and have thoughts about it. Versus Piaget, who says, I have to interact with that object, I get thoughts about it, and now I can have a language. So that's what this learning leading development or developing leading learning means. And of course, the central role in mental development, according to Vygotsky, is that we have to have something called cultural tools to mediate our language so we can have thoughts about stuff. And we have thoughts that have to occur within our zone of proximal development. And it's basically meaning that I'm ready to have these thoughts. I can't think about stuff I'm not ready for, and that zone describes where my thinking is. So we can't teach somebody something that's out of our zone. So please read the text. Wonderful description of his socio-cultural perspective. You notice he calls it socio-cultural because he believes that culture develops our thought through language. And there's some excellent internet sources on Vygotsky. You can look on, there's an excellent one on social context of learning, meaning how we respond to other people, and a little candid, funny one. And so you also want to interview your case study, whether they do any of the things that Vygotsky thought we do, like private speech, self-talk, do they use cultural tools, Facebook, PDAs, those kinds of things. And then you're going to describe a teaching strategy that will support your current cognitive development. So you want to think about, does your teaching strategy support co-construction of learning through scaffolding and other cultural tools? Does it support the student's zone of proximal development, meaning that is it within their zone? Do they use private speech, something called collective monologue in young children, where kids talk to themselves as they go through the actual learning? You'll notice that adults do that when the learning is very difficult. You'll see people start talking to themselves. Vygotsky believes that's just us regulating our thought process through our own language. And then you can, there's plenty of teaching strategies in the book, and you're welcome to find anything else online. And when you complete those, again, you can write it through a paragraph, but you can also use any kind of electronic media as long as it's as long as it's electronic and it can get up onto Lalima. And once you do that, you're going to keep it in a safe place and combine all the sections at the end when you're finished into one big case study. And let's take a moment real quick to look at the case study of Jeff through Vygotsky. So the analysis is that Jeff has a private speech self-talk when he is trying to learn a problem or trying to solve a problem. And so this description would say Jeff's not in any stages, but his development is described through that self-talk, through that cultural tools of learning what these words are. And I think the example is computer as an example. And then a developmental strategy is trying to problem solve, just like the previous example with Piaget, but then talks about how Vygotsky would help the problem solving. And one of the things that's often used in any kind of problem solver is what we call scaffolding, which is breaking things up step by step. That's it. Okay. Save that and move on to your next one.